What is going on, folks? Will Durbin here. Fake Mike. Real news. Welcome back to Auditing America, guys. It's been a little bit, but we're here. We're live. Share the feed. We're going to be talking about World War III today. We're going to be talking about the Ukraine. We're going to be talking about good old Joe, Vladdy boy. So please, guys, just joining us. Share the feed. Make sure you smack the like on the way in. Subscribe. Thank you to everybody that's found us on Facebook. Thank you to all the donations, $ Auditing America News. Thank you to everyone that's found us on TikTok. Please download TikTok and check us out. Also, thank you to everyone that has found us on Instagram. We've been going live a lot lately on Instagram, and we really appreciate you guys can join us there too. We got a special guest. I just want to say too, tonight we will open it up for questions for our guest, so be patient. And also I wanted to say, I can't exactly see all of your comments here tonight because we are on StreamYard, so I'll apologize in advance for that. So awesome. All right. Welcome back to Auditing America, Elijah. It's been a couple of years. I think you've only popped in once or twice here. So I know all about you, but for the folks that don't, who is Elijah? And yeah, let's set the table today. Let's get into you first, though. Who's Elijah? Who's this guy back on Auditing America?
Hey, what's up, Will? Yeah, so I'm just basically some dude. You know, I'm a U.S. Army veteran. Worked in the Libertarian Party after I got out of the service, and basically, I've just dedicated my life to freeing people, not just in the sense of literally freeing people, but freeing their minds and trying to get them to think outside the box. You know, the world that we live in is always trying to get us to, I don't know. The world that we live in is always trying to control us in different ways. So I'm just trying to get people to spread their wings and fly like the little birds that God made them to be. That's all.
And I don't know. It's actually, the audio is excellent. I guess it's just on my side. We just checked the audio, so the audio is excellent. Keep it at whatever you're just doing right there. And yeah, so let's get into it, right? We've been, over the last couple of years, living in an upside down world. And just when we saw, like, oh man, we might have some, you know, the boot might be off of our neck for a little while. Maybe things are looking better. Then we have people worrying about World War III. I have people on my timeline saying, I told you, and one nation shall rise up against another. So, and everyone's got an opinion on this too. What's your take on this? And I'll just say this because, I mean, I could sit here and go through a little introduction about Elijah. But I will say, I tell people all the time, Elijah's one of the smartest people that I've ever met. I think people all have the same amount of intelligence. It's just what they choose to use it on. I think he's a clever kid. I think he's literally, I really value his opinion on a lot of things. And one of the things he's helped me with especially is being able to convey that message. And he's doing that on his own channel. So before we briefly get into, well, we're not going to get into it briefly. We're going to get into it. Ukraine, Russia, and the United States, World War III here. Tell people about your YouTube channel and where they can find it, because you got a brand new YouTube channel.
Yes. So it's something I've been thinking about doing for a while, and I finally just, in the past couple of weeks, decided to jump into it. It's called Elijah Explains Everything. I get double points for alliteration for anybody who plays.
Practicing some gematria there.
So anyway, yeah, it's just supposed to be a video. I'm not trying to go too political with it, you know, just explain cool ideas and get some like weird ideas maybe out there, something that will be engaging. My inspiration for the channel was like on YouTube, not on YouTube, on like social media in general. Like I have the same arguments over and over and over again. And I was like, I should just start copying and pasting the same things I'm saying to people all the time. And then I was like, you know what would be better than that? Making a YouTube channel where I make a video that explains basic things I have to explain all the time to people. And so that's kind of was the inspiration. Now I've kind of branched out into just, I don't know, just if I get a cool idea, I make a video about it. That's it. So tomorrow, I think I'm going to be making a video on why WNBA players are paid less than NBA players. Right? Like
A video
just
on what?
random stuff, you know.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm a little lagging here. And thank you very much for the super chat there, Christopher Burgos. Welcome to the stream, everybody. Welcome Irma. Welcome Red Run. Guys, please share the video on the way, and we're about to get into it. Everyone, if any of the moderators there can find Elijah Explains Everything, that's Elijah Explains Everything on YouTube. That's right, Elijah Explains Everything. Go over there, let him know Auditing America sent you. Let him know good old fake Michael sent you. And he's got a few uploads already. Just started, but he's already got a few videos, and he's going to be prolific. I can just tell this kid. So, all right, let's get down to what everyone's here for, and everyone share the video. What's going on with Ukraine? Because that's what you said. You know, that's kind of your channel. Is like, before I actually give you the reins, I'm just gonna rant one more time, right? Because like, oh well, Israel Palestine. Well, I think. Well, I'm not a doctor, but I think with the and everyone's got an opinion on the little thing that they're fed to them. So yeah, what is going on with World War III? Elijah Explains Everything.
So actually, my last upload was why this isn't going to be World War III, right?
Damn it!
Yeah, totally swung and miss on that. Well, anyway, but
I knew that actually, but I'm trying to get people into the stream.
No,
We're gonna keep it exciting for them, right? It's World War III.
Yeah,
everybody be scared. Just kidding.
Exactly, and it's my most viewed video so far, so that's good. But the point is, don't get too if you're at home and you're stressing out about World War III coming, World War III is not coming. Okay, this is actually a replay of something that happened in 2008 when Russia invaded Georgia. Right, not the state, obviously. Russia invaded Georgia, the country, and it was for the exact same reason. Right now, media has just been like really cashing in on the fear mongering, right? So like with all COVID, they've just been fear mongering. They realized all they have to do is say, what was it? New strand or what was it? New variant. That's right. If they said new variant, that immediately just get tons of money. So then they were like new HIV variant, even though there's new HIV variants all the time, right? And the new HIV variant was actually years old. Right?
Americans love new things.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So now they're just like, oh, there's a war in Ukraine. We'll just blow that up. Right. But it was a very similar situation in 2008 when Obama was president with, Russia invaded Georgia because NATO invited Georgia and Ukraine at the same time to join NATO. And at the time, Georgia was all about joining NATO. They actually had most of their military in Iraq, helping the U.S. with their mission there. And so Russia was like, there's no way we're going to have a NATO country just like right outside our borders. So they invaded Georgia, and they basically decided, they kept a little piece of it, but they said, listen, we'll back off as long as you never join NATO. And then Georgia was like, okay, cool. And now Ukraine wasn't going to join NATO until recently, and then this is what we're seeing, right? So no, it's not going to be World War III. A very similar thing took place 14 years ago. In fact, just 8 years ago, Russia took Crimea. And again, nothing happened like that. Like there was no World War III. We're not seeing World War III right now. It's just the media is kind of in the middle of a blitz, trying to get some extra clicks online, trying to get some extra views, seeing as though CNN's ratings are in the toilet.
They're in the business of selling news.
Yeah, I actually think I saw something on Fox saying that Demand the Truth gets more viewers than CNN nowadays. So,
well, not to brag, but I will take a second, tap my old self and Mr. America on the back. Yes, it's true, folks. 1 month in February, January, I didn't keep up, but at least 1 week in February, January, we beat CNN in ratings. Now they have the flawed Nielsen's rating where they call a bunch of old liberals and say, "What are you watching?" And they say, "The Price is Right and MSNBC." And boom, and they just magnify that out, and that's somehow ratings. But no, we have actual numbers, actual ratings here. Oh! And now we're telling you about the imminent World War III coming to your house.
That's not happening.
This is clickbait. No. We're trying to tell you what's really going on. That's why I'm shutting up and letting Elijah get the reins here. Because everybody's going to take on this, but it's important to hear everybody out. And again, to the people that have been donating and sharing, thank you. And if you have questions or comments for Elijah or myself, please hold them to the end because we will get to you.
Awesome. So anyway, it's not going to be World War III. I think that the case I make in my video is that we are in a post-World War world. That there's not going to be another world war. There will never be another world war because the amount of propaganda needed to put on such a war is so much that with the internet today, there's no way to convince people to sign up for the army, even if they get drafted, to go to foreign countries and die en masse like they did in World War I and World War II. It's not going to happen. Even today, right? If you actually, before I get into this, let me backtrack a little bit. Russia, a lot of people don't realize Russia's reasoning, or at least their public reasoning for going into Ukraine, right? If you watch only Western news, you would probably never hear it, right? But Russia's rationale, and if you actually follow the course of events, it kind of makes sense. I do not agree with the invasion at all. I'm not a Putin apologist here. What he did was wrong, right? But according to Russia, right, and if you look it up historically, it plays out this way, is in the 90s, Russia, and after the Soviet Union fell, Russia had a meeting with NATO, and they were like, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to break up. We're going to give up this many nuclear weapons. This is all going to happen, right? And then they were like, now we don't want NATO because NATO is basically an anti-Russia organization. That's the only reason for NATO's existence, is to protect the Soviet invasion. That was why it started. It's completely obsolete nowadays. And for some reason, it keeps growing. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you think after they knocked the Berlin Wall down, they'd be like, all right, we're cool now.
Yeah, like NATO was specifically set up to protect against the Soviet invasion.
And to interrupt you one more time, because that's the one thing I'm good at, on screen and in the chat, I'm putting right now Elijah's channel. So please go over there. And I think it's at 100 or 500 subs, because he just started a brand new channel. You can get the customized URL. So everybody, after this video is over, or if you have another tab, open up the thing I just put in the chat there and subscribe to Elijah. Help build his channel. Help him get a custom-made URL, and let's get this guy's new channel up there to everybody possible. So Elijah explains everything. Just type it into YouTube. Elijah explains everything. Elijah explains everything. And I'm going to put it in the chat one more time. Please, Elijah, continue. Elijah explains everything to everybody.
Awesome. So where is that here? Yeah. So basically what they literally said at the meeting out loud, and apparently it was recorded, was they were like, hey, we just don't want NATO coming any closer than Poland. Like, Poland was already a NATO country at the time, and they were like, that's it. Like, Poland's as close as we want you guys to come. And NATO was like, oh yeah, of course, we're not going to move any further east. Why would we do that? It doesn't make any sense. And like a year and a half later, they invited like Romania to join, and Romania joined. And like that, so like they were super close, right? And then they were like, and then like a couple years after that, there was like a few other countries that joined. And at this point, right, Putin has said many times over the course of the last 6 months, in the past year, he's been complaining about NATO expansion. And he said many, many times, NATO has expanded in 5 waves since they told us they would not expand any more towards us. And now they're trying to get Ukraine to become a member of NATO, right? And this is just something. So a lot of people don't realize this, but Ukraine is just 725 miles from Moscow's border, right? So like from Moscow, right? So the Ukrainian border is just 725 miles from Moscow. Having an explicitly anti-Russian organization 725 miles from your capital is something scary for anybody. I don't care who
like you
you
said,
are.
I think it's important to remind folks that the reason that we have the North Atlantic Trade Organization is because of the Cold War, right? Because of World War II, but we're not in that Cold War anymore, right? Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. You know, we've got the Western influences in there. Of course, we didn't. I mean, but so the reason to have that, I mean, if you put in other things and just replace Russian with Italian or another thing. Hey, we're gonna put an anti-Italian club in Sicily or in Ethiopia. You know. Sorry.
And so
that's important for people to remember. I'm not, and again, if you're just joining, share the video. Find Elijah Explains Everything. I can't speak for Elijah. I'm definitely not taking sides here on anything. Elijah's breaking it down rationally with facts. So this is very important.
Please do not think I'm taking Putin's side. I hate Putin. I think he's a horrible human being.
Yes,
but,
we have no dogs in this fight.
But no. But I'm just saying.
Spoiler alert: we don't like Biden or Putin. I think I can speak for you when I say
if your idea is that Putin has just done something absolutely crazy and unexpected, and that that NATO and Ukraine are just good guys, I have some bad news for you. Right? What Putin has done in the invasion of Ukraine was not only expected but completely predictable. Right? He waited till the day after the Olympic Games. Everybody knew this was happening after the Olympics. Nobody's going to start a war during the Olympics, right? And then the day after the Olympics end, he's like, okay, let's go. Come on, guys. Anybody who tells you this was surprising is a complete liar, right? Any public official from any government in the world that says this was a surprising move is a complete liar. In fact, one could even extrapolate from the data available to us lowly peasants that they were trying to get Putin to invade Ukraine. So, if you actually looked at what they did, right, is they could have had Ukraine join NATO. They could have done it, right, really quick, and then that's it. If Russia invades Ukraine, then all of NATO, all 30 countries, would have to go and fight Russia. But they didn't do that, right? That's not what happened, right? No, they wanted to threaten Putin with the fact that Ukraine could become a NATO country so that they could set up a military base with all kinds of missiles and stuff right next to Moscow, right? To make him do something that would make him look bad, right? That's really what was going on. Everybody that was playing the game like Ukraine might become a member of NATO, that's what they were doing. And maybe Ukraine didn't realize that's what was going on, but that's what was going on, right?
But luckily, in steps the reluctant, heroic leader, Joe Biden, to save the day.
Yes. Did you see that meme that was it was the dungeon master? If you play Dungeons and Dragons, and he's setting the scene, and he's like, okay, your approval rating's the lowest in U.S. history, and the economy's in the toilet. What do you do? And then it's a picture of Joe Biden, and he says, I use my intelligence and my knowledge of history to unite the nation. And then it's the dice roll is a 1, and he goes, ha. You start a war with Russia in the winter.
He's such a good guy. So yeah, I mean, I got my own personal opinion on the U.S. here. I mean, who do you think is in control of NATO? Is it the U.S.? And what's their reasoning for wanting to get so close up to Russia? I have my own beliefs.
at this point, right? So, all right. So, if we're going to talk about conspiracy theories, right?
Fine.
Now,
Well,
I will preface it with this. The theory part isn't whether or not conspiracies exist, right? Because we know for a fact that they exist, because all a conspiracy is people with power planning on keeping that power. And if you had power, you'd definitely do that, right?
Well, I'm not even talking about a conspiracy here, but continue.
Well, if we're talking about who controls NATO and what their plan is,
well,
that's conspiratorial.
I'm not. Well, I don't think it would be conspiratorial to say that since the U.S. was like the main engine, obviously along, with Britain and France. France already surrendered, by the way.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, one could argue that since the U.S. is putting the most finance and was the originators and has the most military knights, I'm not saying that it's like, George or a reptoid pulling the string. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, well, I would think that the U.S. has the most power in NATO. And my own thing would be, hey, just what you said, even though it's not a conspiracy. I think it's more like power corrupts. You see the Stanford prison experiment. Power's a dangerous thing, and the U.S. doesn't want to lose any of their power or influence. We just get greedy. We just want everything. We're an empire. We're imperialists. That's only my rationale. Like we just want to run everything. We got to get our hands on everything.
Exactly, and so it makes sense, right? If you're the United States on the national stage, right? There are two major competitors, right? And this is, I actually saw something. Where was it? Oh yeah, it was some university professor. I gave a speech about Russia and Ukraine back in like 2014 when they took over Crimea. I watched that recently. And it was pretty interesting because he said that the worst thing that we could do is actually egg on Russia. And he was saying that the reason why is because Russia could prove to be our most valuable ally against China in the future. He's like, but if we egg on Russia, it's going to drive Russia and China together.
Makes common sense to me.
And so I thought that was an interesting
in geopolitics.
I mean, I'm a peacenik, right? So I wish that we didn't have to plan on, I don't know, having controversial relations with China or Russia, but the reality of the situation is that there's a lot of bad blood between certain nations, right? China is a very powerful nation, and they have a completely different worldview.
That you went to China?
Huh? I did actually. I was in China.
So tell people. If you want to do a brief tag, we talked about this on my channel, Fake Mike Real News. But it didn't go to the larger audience here at Auditing America. This guy is also somebody that served his country. This guy knows like 17 languages. He is, and he's not just speaking about China. He went to China, and tell people briefly about that trip and some of the people that you went with, because he didn't just go to China like, hey guys, I'm here to see Shanghai for a week. Yeah.
So I went on a congressional delegation with Cynthia McKinney. Now she's a former congresswoman, right? Cynthia McKinney, she's like one of the coolest people ever in Congress. If you don't know her, you can look her up. She did a lot of stuff with like Hurricane Katrina. She totally chewed out what's his face? Rumsfeld, that's it. She totally chewed out Rumsfeld the day before 9/11 about like missing trillions of dollars. She has this amazing rant about the U.S. buying Viagra. It's she has like a whole bunch of stuff.
I didn't hear that one.
Oh yeah, you should check that out. It's really good. She's like, what's she saying? She's like as a sitting congresswoman, she was like, oh, with this new like shipment of Viagra we're getting, our boys in blue or our boys are going to be like, what she said. She's
why is the U.S. buying Viagra?
It's like, I think it's like for the VA and stuff. I don't know. But anyway, they spent like $450 million on Viagra or some crazy bullshit, right? And she like had this like rant about it. It was fantastic. And she was like, they're like, locked, locked, cocked, and ready to rock or something. Like, it was hilarious. Like, she kills it.
She was memeing before memeing was a thing. That's awesome.
But anyway, Cynthia
with Cynthia
McKinney, I love
McKinney.
her. Cynthia, if you're watching. So Cynthia, she's just a great person overall. I met her, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But anyway, I met her a while back, and then she was heading to she was doing this trip, this delegation to China. And as soon as I saw the opportunity, I was like, I want to go to China with Cynthia McKinney. So like I sent her a message, hi, I hope it's not too late. And I managed to squeak in at the last minute. And there was about 20 political activists on the trip. And I was the only libertarian. Like there was like maybe 4 conservatives, and then the rest of the people there were like hardcore, like communists and socialists. It was pretty crazy. And it was really interesting because I got to visit China, and not only did we just visit a bunch of the historical sites in China and stuff, but we actually got to meet with Chinese officials and like ask them hard questions, like no holds bar. You can ask anything you want. We got into the whole Uyghur concentration camps. We got into the Hong Kong protest. Again, this is back in like, what was it? It was the, I went December of 2018, I think, to January 2019. So it was right when COVID was coming out. If that's the year,
he's the guy, guys. Thank him.
Yeah.
Go find Elijah Explains Everything.
Yeah, I was
lot.
patient zero.
Thanks
apparently.
a lot, idiot.
Yeah, because when I got back from China, I immediately went on a bus trip across the United States. So.
And you were complaining about the bat soup that you had. I remember.
Yeah, it was the bat
Very
soup was
unfortunate.
undercooked. It was undercooked. I'm telling you. I didn't eat bat soup. I did eat a scorpion, and that was cool. But I digress. So anyway, it was a great trip. Got to ask a lot of hard questions to government officials in China. Really rare opportunity that doesn't happen like at all. In fact, the amount of tourists that go to China is actually very low. I actually thought before going that like there was going to be a lot of tourists there. There were no tourists but us. It was crazy. You go to like, like the Great Wall, and it's just a bunch of Chinese people and then us. Like that was it. Like it was that was it. There was no tourists but us. It's crazy. There's very few tourists that go to China. So it's interesting. If you do get a chance to go to China, I highly recommend it. The food's amazing, very cheap trip. Everything's very cheap, and there's some really cool things to see.
So yeah, China. Okay, keep going. No, finish up with your point on that too. But then, kind of, if you want, work that into where we sit today. Because before that, you were talking about how it would be a bad idea, according to, I believe it was a professor. You said, right? Was that a professor?
Yeah, it was some professor that gave a speech about it.
Yeah, and that seems like a pretty bad idea. So finish up on that. Take as much time as you need, but then kind of pull back and say, where do we stand? Where do things stand right now with U.S., China, and Russia?
Yeah. So, I mean, look, China is a very powerful country. They have a quarter of the Earth's population, right? Like this is something like everybody always thinks, oh, there's a lot of Chinese people. No, it's like, no, they have a quarter of the Earth's population, right? Like that's just think about that for a second. It's insane. And the fact that they don't have the largest economy right now and the US does is like really weird, right? Like they outnumber Americans.
Why do you say that? Because
they outnumber Americans by a whole lot, right? So they have so much more manpower. So the US per person produces like 10 times more than the average, Chinese citizen. And that's going to change very shortly. Like China is going to be the biggest economy on earth very shortly, right? They're modernizing. A lot of stuff is happening. And the Chinese government is way more dictatorial than you probably think it is, right? Like there's only one political party in China. They don't have elections. Like there's one political party, the Communist Party of China. The Communist Party chooses who's going to be in charge of what internally. Like it would be like if the Republicans just decided who was president and who was the Congress people and who was the city, garbage director. Like like that's it. Like it's just the one party. There's nobody, like they don't have elections. They don't have political conversations in China. There's like, if you start talking about politics, people get real weird real quickly. Even politicians, like, because they're not politicians. They're just government employees. That's all they are. So like somebody will have this big fancy title that they're in charge of something, but they're not actually a politician. They don't have constituents. They're appointed by this all-powerful organization and are just told what to do, right? For instance, I had this, I actually still haven't figured this out yet, right? So almost every country has a Rothschild-owned central bank, right? And so I actually asked a government official in China if China's central bank had anything to do with the Rothschilds.
I didn't know that.
And the woman said, I have no idea. And what's more frustrating? And she told me this just voluntarily. She was like, what's more frustrating about that is that's basically where I come from. Like before I had this position, I worked for the central bank ever since I graduated college.
Oh man, wow.
And she had no idea whether or not
it had
anything to do with the Rothschild, right? Because they just don't ask questions there. She just had no idea how it was set up at all, right? And
so dangerous. Society kept like that. Oh
exactly. And so like that's the thing. And like the government officials I talked to in China seem like really good people. They seem like they really want the best for their people. But the system that's set up there is so just top to bottom that it doesn't matter how good your intentions are, right? There's no way to there's no checks or balances at all. There's no checks or balances at all. And so right now we have an emerging China, right? And the closest power to them, right, is Russia, right? So China is communist. Russia used to be communist, right? They share borders. Already they have a oil trade where they decided to stop using the US dollar for oil, right? And they use rubles or yuan. I forget which one they use, but they use one of the two, which by the way, I support. I'm not a big fan of the petrodollar, but that's a totally different story altogether, right? But like, so they're kind of close, but again, they're not exactly like allies. For instance, China has already released a statement condemning the actions in Ukraine, right? And so the idea that we would be egging on Russia, right, when China, who we know is not doesn't look on the US favorably or the Western world or Western values, right, favorably, right, is emerging as going to be a global superpower. And now we're alienating, but with all this NATO business, we're alienating an ally that could help us kind of check that power in that region. So it's that was basically the professor's thing, was like, China's coming. They have a totally different worldview than you do. And Russia is probably our best hope at checking that.
Yeah. And guys, if you're just joining too, make sure you share this video with everybody. If you're just tuning in a little bit late, shame on you. Make sure you hit the bell to subscribe. Open another tab right now and find Elijah Explains Everything. That's Elijah Explains Everything on YouTube. Elijah Explains Everything with new videos all the time. There's already a few new videos up there, brand new channel. And are you on any other social media currently right now, Elijah? As far as for your YouTube channel that you want to talk about?
I'm on Twitter right now. I have no followers on Twitter. I don't know how to tweet. I don't know how to
Send
Twitter
me
at
your
all.
if you can, if you can tell it to me in 1 sec, or if you can send it to me.
Yeah, it's at Elijah_explains, and that's it.
Oh, that's easy for everybody. So guys, find Elijah_explains, Elijah_explains on Twitter. Check me out, Fake Micro News on Twitter. I want to say I wanted to let at least him have 15 seconds before I interrupted again. Thank you for everybody that has super chatted. And again, I wanted to say thank you, Obscure and Deflect. We'll get to your questions later. I know you guys got some questions out there. But please, if you're just joining, make sure you share this video right now with everybody. Check out Elijah Explains Everything on YouTube, and find Auditing America on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. So we've got China, and their government doesn't look like it's got a strong future, right? But who knows how long this can last? Because I marvel at how long some of these systems, because human beings don't like change a lot, unfortunately. And if they don't know any better, well, I'll let you get into that because you're the guest. But we got China. What's going on now? I mean, after this event that's occurred, what do you see going forward with not just the U.S. and Russia, but also China?
So I don't know. So I saw some speculation that this was like World War III speculation, though, which I don't buy into. But people are saying that if China was going to try to invade Taiwan, now would be the perfect time, right? We got all the Western powers freaking out over what's happening in Europe, and now China can. Now we have I try not to say we don't have anything, right? The United States government has ships between Taiwan and China. There's no such thing as a war between it's not like we're going to war with Russia. No. It's
yeah,
the
and
United
I want
States
to
government's going to war with the Russian government. Yeah.
Yeah, because I used to be one of those guys when I watched a documentary or I talk about, World War II or something like that. Well, we stormed the beaches of Normandy, and we didn't do any of that. Okay, we didn't do any of that. Continue. Sorry.
No. Right. And so and this is kind of like the mentality I try to remember. It's like no, it's not we, right? The U.S. government might go to war with the Russian government, but it's not. We're not going to war with Russia. The American people aren't going to war with the Russian people. That's not happening, right? Already there are protests in Russia, which is crazy to think about, because if you protest something Putin does, you get arrested in Russia. They've already been arresting protesters. It's the first day, just hours after Russia invaded Ukraine.
Now I'm going to
protests erupted in St. Petersburg and other cities.
So you bring up something that I want to touch on, right? And I really want your opinion on this. So people talk to me all the time about North Korea. North Korea is a better example, but I think Russia is another example. I think China's another example. I think North Korea is the most extreme example, though, right? Because we got only a couple ways of getting information out of North Korea, right? You either have to. There's three ways. You can either go there yourself, right?
Yeah.
Or you could rely on the Western media, which has a history of lying about all sorts of stuff.
Everything.
And then you have the CIA influence over things, which has been proven historically. And then you got North Korea. I ain't gonna trust either of those people, right? So I don't.
Well, you have a fifth option.
A fourth.
You can email Dennis Rodman.
Yes. See, Dennis Rodman actually should be the ambassador. He's done more good and created more peace and goodwill than any politician for since I can remember with North Korea. Yeah. Since I was, since my grandfathers fought in the Korean War. So I'm and then every time I hear something coming out of Russia or China, I always have in the back of my head, like, I don't believe a goddamn thing any of these people say, because sometimes I feel like, how do I know that what CNN or Fox is putting on right now is not something that's completely fictitious or taken out of context or used for their advantage? And it's really difficult for me, and that's why I'm glad you've been to China and you've traveled a lot, and because you can give us more context on this stuff. Because for me, it's really tough to wrap my head around, like, what the hell is really going on in these places, because I feel like I have no reliable source of information there.
Well, that is a huge problem in our society today. And this is the thing, we get tons of information and none of it is reliable. Like, it's really insane. So there's no easy answer to that, Will. Like, just stay skeptical, my friend. Stay skeptical, but don't stay so skeptical. I got people trying to tell me that the war in Ukraine is all just staged.
Well, actually, it may be, because according to my good friend Polar Express, I agree, Elijah is Illuminati. So I have my suspicions. Well, we exposed him right now.
Oh, snap. I am actually
that baby
Illuminati.
down.
I don't even, how do you even know that I'm Illuminati? Are you,
I got it from a reliable source.
Are you a brother?
It's scientifically proven. And I cringe at scientifically proven. That's why I said that.
I got my Masonic birth certificate right over here.
Yes, that's right.
I am Illuminati. Yes.
He's 100% confirmed.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift confirmed.
I'm
That's right, guys.
32nd
Another
degree
exclusive.
Freemason.
Not only is World War III, but bigger breaking news brought to you by Elijah, who's Illuminati confirmed. We're changing the name of this video to Elijah, World War III, Illuminati, Taylor Swift confirmed, First Amendment audit fail, tyrant walk of shame. It's gonna get a billion views.
Where did Taylor Swift come from in that?
I mix that into my Illuminati thing, because like people be thinking like Taylor Swift and Beyonce are Illuminati. Like, first of all, there was a historical organization called the Bavarian Illuminati. I don't believe that organization exists in any form today. I mean, you could make an argument for
it does things. It does. I'm actually a member of it.
Oh, that's right. Sorry guys.
No, I'm not joking. Like, okay, right. Let me break it down for you.
Guys, we're getting exclusive. We're getting bombshells here. We're getting Illuminati exposed right here, guys.
Okay, so nobody knows when Freemasonry began, really, right? It was probably around like the 14th century or so, or whatever, right?
Are you talking about Templar times there?
Yeah, well, Freemasonry is not Templar, right? But nowadays they're all together, right? So, but anyway, Freemasonry.
That's the question I want to ask you, right? Because I've heard certain people say Masons draw their lineage from either the building of the temple and or back to ancient Egypt. But also, I've heard people say that the Templars, when they kind of got banned, outlawed in the was it 1307 or something like that, then they kind of regrouped and became Masons, or rebranded as Masons.
So look, I am a 32nd degree Freemason, right? I'm not at all a Masonic historian, but from what I understand, right, and I could be wrong, but this is my general understanding, is so basically what happened is that there were 3 separate organizations that all developed on their own, right? So Freemasonry was one, right? One organization. The Knights Templar were another. And then the Illuminati, the Bavarian Illuminati, were the third, right? So what happened?
And I'm going to jump in here too. Sorry, I always do this to you, and I feel so bad too. I'm just going to shut the hell up. So I'm just going to shut up. Sorry, I'm growing.
Okay. So anyway, so what happened was that Freemasonry was just the first fraternity. Somebody came up with the idea for a fraternity, and that was Freemasonry, right? And it grew like wildfire because fraternities are awesome, right? And so like everybody started joining a fraternity. Like they were like, this is a fraternity. It's great. You should totally do it. But the Catholic Church, right? And so like a lot of people that are really like super like, ooh, the Freemasons, they worship Satan and they're all bad and everything, right? Those same types of people typically don't like the Catholic Church, correct? Like they typically think the Catholic Church is probably into some bad juju as well. Well, raise your hand if you trust what the Catholic Church says. No, nobody? Okay. So what happened was that the Catholic Church really hated Freemasonry because they felt like if you were loyal to Freemasonry, you weren't as loyal to the church, and you should have absolute loyalty to the church. So they banned Freemasonry, and if you were found out to be a Freemason, you got your head chopped off. And then they told everybody, like, hey, guys, Freemasons, they worship Satan. If you know somebody who's a Freemason, that means that they worship Satan. And they start coming up with all these terrible conspiracy theories about them, right? So Freemasonry was forced to go underground, hence like the secret handshakes and all that kind of stuff, right? That is all part of our history and our tradition because we were forced underground by the Catholic Church. Meanwhile, the Knights Templar had a similar thing. There was like an issue between them. I'm going to just skip all this fat here. Like there was an issue between them, the whole Black Friday thing, or Friday the 13th thing, not Black Friday, Friday the 13th thing. They killed a bunch of Templars in the middle of the night. The Templars went underground. The Templars became a secret organization, right? Underground. They had a run. They were in hiding, right? The Bavarian Illuminati were a little different. They were kind of like what we would call a chamber of commerce nowadays, but a secret chamber of commerce. And basically they were business people within Bavaria that figured out, hey, if we just do business with each other and push out competition, then we'll be a lot stronger, right? They formed like a secret organization. So like, oh, we'll get our goods from you and we'll just trade like this. And if somebody else comes, you won't trade to them, and then they'll be at a disadvantage and I can push them out. Right. So that was kind of the Bavarian Illuminati. So then when people found out about that got banned and they had to go underground. And so these three organizations kind of came together under Freemasonry as like the headstone, right? And so if you degrees 4 through 14 are what they call the York Rite, and that's the Knights Templar. So that's literally the Knights Templar of old is still alive today within the umbrella of Freemasonry. And then degrees 4 through 32 are the Illuminati degrees, right? And so that's called the Scottish Rite. And so from 4 to 32, you're part of the Illuminati. And that's together, all three of them coexist as an organization. And I am a member of that organization. So yes, the Illuminati exist. They're not the New World Order. Those are two totally different things. The New World Order is the group of people that people claim are like trying to like kill off people and stuff like that, not the Illuminati. So there you go. And Wu-Tang bitches is correct.
Yes, I love that. It's that Wu-Tang guy because we get a lot of comments here on Auditing America. We get some comments on Fake Mike Real News. And I'm sure you'll be getting them very soon at Elijah Explains Everything on YouTube. That's Elijah Explains Everything on YouTube. Elijah Explains Everything on YouTube. Find him, help his channel grow. It's a brand new channel. Like I said, he's one of the smartest people that I know. I've already hit the bell, and I'm going to be checking his content as hopefully every single time he uploads, I'll get the bell. But sometimes you have to go and recheck. And it's also Elijah_explains on Twitter, right?
That's correct.
And if you guys are just joining, again, thank you to everyone that is super chatted. Thank you for all the donations you guys have been giving to $ Auditing America News on Cash App, $ Fake Mike Real News. Find Auditing America News on Instagram. Find them on Cash App. Find them on TikTok. What's the other? Facebook. Yeah, I don't know. I forget. But find Auditing America on all platforms. And make sure after this video is done, that you guys take your favorite Auditing America video and share it on your timeline, your Twitter, after you followed Elijah. And yeah, we get a lot of comments in it's that Wu-Tang guy just randomly comment on my videos, Wu-Tang, and I love it because we get a lot of great comments. We get some negative comments, of course, too, comes with the territory. But it's always refreshing to see that. So I want you to make any other final points that before we open it up to questions here, because I really we haven't done a live in a while.
Yeah. How about let's do a round of questions.
Okay, great. Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys, you guys have been shooting your questions out there. All right, let me just put on the live chat from the top chat. All right, questions for Elijah, myself, or maybe even Auditing America. I hit Auditing America with some rather large sedatives to take over this channel for as long as possible. So if he doesn't wake up, I mean, I'm Auditing America. I have the cape now. I'm Mr. America. Okay, why don't you just answer questions? Okay, I'm answering questions. Okay, I'm sorry. I figured I'd say a lame joke. So you guys have questions. Okay, what's the question, Frank Royce? Oh, you guys were making fun of the way I smoke blunts. Okay, you smoke blunts like a loser. I mean, probably, but give me better criticism than that. Help me grow. Give me some constructive criticism. Tell me how to hit it. All right. Repent, Elijah. Okay, repent.
For what?
Okay, good question here, Jonah. Who controls the Communist China Corporation, or you can maybe be a little more specific about what you're trying to say? I'm just gonna say Steve Sear is here. Awesome. All right, so maybe if you want to field that, and then we got another question here from GLF.
Okay, cool. So I think that the spirit of the question is like, who's really in charge in China?
Okay.
Right. And I mean, who really knows? Like, I'm not like a higher up in the Chinese Communist Party, but what I would say is like President Xi is president for life.
Winnie the Pooh loser.
He's probably a front runner there. But what I would say is, if you've ever seen the show Chernobyl, and if you haven't, you should definitely watch Chernobyl. It's amazing. Anyway, in Chernobyl, the general guy or whatever's like talking to the nuclear physicist, and the nuclear physicist is really upset because he's been being followed by the KGB, right? The KGB, right? He's like, yo, like, why am I being followed? Like, I'm not doing anything wrong. Like, these people are following me. Like, it's making me nervous, right? And the guy's like, look, he's like, you're being followed. And then he like points over to a corner. And he goes, and those guys are following me. And this guy's like the 4-star general, like in trouble. He's like, what the KGB is just, it's a system where everybody follows everybody. And he's like, so that everybody is serving the best interest of the party.
It's like the Spider-Man astronaut meme where everyone's
the system becomes like a mind of its own. And I think that's where China is at the moment. Right?
Okay, I'm going to keep these tight to get as many questions as I can. And okay, so just on that same spirit, we're going to skip. We'll go right to GLS questions, but this is the same thing. Who do you think is controlling America? And thank you, Lindsay Speaks. Thank you, Lindsay Speaks, for the super chat. Thank you very much. Welcome to the stream. I appreciate that, Freedom. All right. So yeah, who do you think is it? Before we get to GLS question, shout outs to Lori. Who do you think is in control of the United States?
I mean, it's the banking cartel. I mean,
that would be my answer.
The
banking cartel and the CIA in the Bilderberg Group. That's my answer. Sorry. The banking cartel is really like the biggest part of it all. It's really where it all starts.
Yeah, it all boils down to the banking cartel. I mean, that's
all right. This question here from GLF. Shout outs to GLF. Question is, if the Ukrainian people knew that the Russians would invade, considering the fact that they had already invaded Crimea back in 2000, I believe, 12, why would NATO allow Ukraine to join?
I don't think Ukraine ever actually joined NATO. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think it ever happened. They invited them simply to provoke Putin, to make him show his ass on the national stage, right? Like this is the point, is they want people to think that Putin is like some crazy guy who's just invading countries for no reason. They're putting troops in Poland. There's no way Putin's invading Poland. Like, like
They
it's
already have memes
absolutely
about him
ridiculous.
like that. Like, and you can tell sometimes whether like certain memes, they have memes like him, like he's Hitler already and all this other stuff. And I'm like, he's bad. He's bad, but he's not Hitler.
He's not Hitler, right? And this is the thing. I do not support Putin. Please do not think I'm carrying water
You're just
for him
joining
or
in,
anything
share the
like that.
video. We don't like Putin. We don't like Biden. We don't like NATO. We don't like China. We don't like anybody.
Yeah.
We don't like any of you guys.
If you actually listen to what the Russians have said, the reason for invading Ukraine is, it makes sense. Like, they told NATO not to expand closer to them back in 1990, and they've expanded 5 times, 5 different occasions closer to them. And Ukraine is just 725 miles from Moscow's border. They've said this over and over and over again for like years now.
Okay,
And
I got the
they're
follow-up here.
pretending like it's out of nowhere.
So he actually says, no, what I'm asking is if Russia had already invaded Crimea, why didn't the Ukrainian government take action to join NATO right away? Wouldn't they have known Russia would eventually invade? That's an interesting thing about alliances, allegiances, maybe there.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have that specific information with you for you. What I can say is that Ukraine was supposed to join the EU a couple years back. And what Russia did was Russia made them a counter offer and said, if you don't join the EU, we'll give you the sweetheart trade deal or whatever. And Ukraine dropped the whole EU idea and just was like, oh yeah, we want that deal instead. So look, Ukraine, like, it's something like a third of Ukrainians' primary language is Russian. They have much closer ties to Russia than they do with Western Europe. So there's a lot going on here, right? And again, and you can say like Tulsi Gabbard's been going on all over social media and on news networks and stuff, talking about how the Ukrainian government that's in place right now has been completely dictatorial, like with their political opponents who are pro-Russia, right? They've been killing people, they've been arresting people for years, right? And when Putin says, we're invading Ukraine to denazify Ukraine, that's what he's talking about. Anybody who's pro-Russia in Ukraine is getting arrested and killed and taken out of the equation. So it's a very there's no good guys here, is what I'm trying to say. It's a very complicated scenario.
All right, guys. We got time for one more really good question. And while I'm going to be scanning the chat right now for the questions, Elijah, please tell everyone where they can find you once again, and tell people a little bit about your channel.
Yes. So my new YouTube channel, it's called Elijah Explains Everything. It's basically just whenever I get an idea to explain something. In fact, I just got an idea on this recording where I'll explain like how Freemasonry and like
you should, because
Knights Templar and everything, like how they.
When I originally became a truther, I thought, oh, Freemasons are. I didn't 100% think it, but I had the association that Freemasons are all like bad people. I mean, I didn't think the rank and file, but I thought surely the people, and there's some. It's more complex than that. It's more nuanced than that. Are there bad Freemasons? Have there been conspiracies within Freemasonry?
Definitely.
Yeah, of course.
I think Jack the Ripper was a Freemason.
There's an interesting a thread to that too. So we're going to delve into that on Elijah Explains Everything. Elijah Explains Everything. Elijah Explains Everything on YouTube. And Elijah_explains. Elijah_explains on Twitter. So let me see. Let's see. We got one more. Okay, this is a question right here. We're going to take one last question and people are thanking you for your service.
Thank you for paying my paycheck.
Yes. All right. Are you really scared of really bad? Are you ever scared of really bad police retaliation? I think that's probably for both of us, but take that
for me,
Elijah.
Yeah. But I think that question is probably directed at you.
Well, no, I mean, and that's it may not be, because I don't know how well you're monitoring the chat, but you do have your own set of fans and even a couple trolls. So welcome to the troll gang. You have
Nice.
a couple trolls.
Yeah,
What somebody said that the demon is seething through your face, and I love
Awesome.
reading they tell me not to read the negative comments. That's what they say. Don't read the negative. Don't go. I like to do it sometimes. I haven't done it in a long time, but it's funny. The stuff's funny.
Okay.
So we'll address that on my channel, where we address all the negative stuff. So look forward to Elijah coming on my channel very soon. So yeah, take your time with this last final question here, and I'll give an answer to it too before we wrap this up.
Well, I mean, I do my fair share of political activism on the
Elijah's
ground.
done a lot of activism just because the sake of the show is so brief. We're not getting into it, but my apologies.
Yeah, no problem. So, you know, yes, I am absolutely horrified of police brutality. In fact, at one point I was in handcuffs, and my friend got arrested for not showing his ID. Adam Kokesh got arrested for not showing his ID. Afterwards, I was released from the handcuffs, and the cop was like, how come your friend wouldn't show his ID? And I was like, because he shouldn't have to show his ID. And the cop said, well, if that's true, why did you show me your ID? And I said, because you have a gun and I didn't want you to shoot me. The cop was like, I'm not going to shoot you. And I was like, I don't know you. If a mugger on the side of the street came up and was like, give me your ID, I'll give him my ID too. Like, I don't know you, right? Like I did it under duress, not because I felt like I needed to give a cop my ID, right? I did it because I felt like I had no choice. But anyway, you can go, Will.
Oh, no, yeah. And as far as what happens with Mr. America and myself, I mean, we have documented some. We actually broke some news about John Lang. Rest in peace to John Lang. We broke some interesting news to that saga here on Auditing America Live. Me and CPR Audits. Shout outs to again CPR Audits and Universal TV. This is not some. And I've talked to a few other auditors. You know, we've been talking to James Freeman, Accurate Amanda, and you know, we interview people all the time on this channel, my channel, the radio show, and you hear about this backlash. Sometimes when we do, we have had some things happen to us for sure too. Nothing crazy, but you know, there's people that are watching this video that are cops and friends of cops and say, hey, Will, did you ever date this girl that lives at this place? Hey, Will, is this your mother's address on my comments and all this other stuff? And I'm like, you people are weird. You people are pathetic. There's stuff that happens, but you know what? If these people want to do this scene now, imagine what they would do to you if they had full control. And I'm not going to let them get full control. So Elijah, thank you very much for being our guest today and let me talk all over as I usually do. I'm sorry. I'm like this. I came off a long road trip and I over caffeinated even for me this time. So I promise we're going to have Elijah back up very soon. And if you want to hear Elijah without the rambling, over-caffeinated Will, fake Mike on it, you can go to Elijah Explains Everything on YouTube. Please, please, please help out. It's a brand new channel. It's Elijah Explains Everything. Go over there, give it a like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment for the algorithm and let them know good old fake Mike sent you. Elijah, thank you very much. And guys, before you go, make sure
Thanks
you
for
like
having
this
me.
video. Find Auditing America on Instagram, TikTok. Thank you to everyone that donated $, Auditing America News on Cash App, $, Fake Mike Real News. Thank you to everyone that super chatted. And we also have a Facebook group, a lot of discussion there. Go find us over there. Guys, Fake Mike, Real News, find Auditing America on all platforms. Check out a new upload tomorrow. Peace, folks.